Lots of talk about job loss related to artificial intelligence, and I think maybe we should explore that just a little bit. If you haven't been following the technology and the speed at which it's rolling out, it can be a little bit of a shocker, especially it just feels like one day it was not here, and then the next day you wake up and you're seeing everything on the news about AI taking over people's jobs. Now, if we scroll back in history, maybe this wasn't part of the thing you happen to pay attention to. When I was a cop all those years, I really wasn't looking into AI research, but it also wasn't like front end being put out there by everyone. There was a silent sublayer that was quietly building these models and building the technologies that would allow artificial intelligence to exceed human intelligence. So artificial intelligence, that word sounds like artificial, sounds like not as good as the original, but in this case, it could actually be more intelligent than the original. Maybe not better. I think that's time's going to tell that. And time is something we don't have the luxury of having at this moment. Just because the progression, the speed at which AI technology is moving, even when you have governments trying to become involved, and there's entire discussions around whether that should or should not be, but you still have the governments trying to be involved or partially involved. I believe that the labs are still going to move forward 100% lock, stock, and barrel without slowing their roll down. Is that the good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I think the goal is looking at these companies and the little bit of what I know by investing the time in to learning about the technology daily. I've been doing that since 2021. It seems like that ultimate goal is building this thing that they're calling artificial super intelligence. It's like the best of everything, the top of everything, the smartest in everything, integrated with everything. And that is what they're hoping for. Now, part of me, looking at the people building the technology, I can't help but think, well, maybe they're trying to find their own version of God, the Lord, the God of the universe in the machine. Maybe they're looking for answers that we don't have yet, like why or how did the universe come to be? These massive hadron colliders that are buried deep under the earth, that are huge and full of magnets and power, where they're basically taking atoms and smashing them into each other to get a snapshot of what they believe goes back to before time began. Yeah, I don't know if the particle accelerators is part of where we need to be focused, but of course, because people are trying to answer that question, who is God? Where is God? Where did we come from? Is there a God? And what should we be doing next? And what with this God thing went with us anyway, as kind of partially from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If that is in fact what they're looking for, nothing's going to slow them down. And that's where religion plays a part into artificial intelligence being framed like it is their religion, something that they're paying attention to, something that they're potentially willing to die over. Their forever line in the sand, if you will. Watching where the technology has been and then looking at how fast it's grown is quite remarkable. They compare it to the technological advancements, the different ages of old, agricultural revolutions, industrial revolutions, and different things that happened along the way. The printing press, electricity, the light bulb, the internet boom, oil, railroads, these sorts of things. And even fire, right? And fire was a big deal. Not so much having fire. Fire happened. Electromagnetic, electric shocks, lightning, it caused fires. Static electricity caused fires. People probably didn't know where it came from. But to be able to control and harness the power of fire, well, you have that. And that's what happened way back in the day. Then they used that harnessing of fire to cook. And then apparently, if we were created this way, that goes out the window. But if we evolved from a single cell organism that came from, I guess, nowhere, then that gets us where we are today in our intelligence. So building this technology out, well, it should make us all kind of take a moment and reflect, because no longer are we going to be the alpha on the planet. Add robots into it, and that really does a very good job at replacing. As far as employees, I don't know if that's the biggest thing to look at, or the control mechanism that's going to be put in place, because there are going to be certain people that are able to have a semblance of control over artificial intelligence and those who do not. Now, then they'll say, well, the only way that you're going to level up or remain in the right space is you need to learn the technology. I think understanding the premise of know thy enemy is important, even like you should know your friend. I think knowing anything is probably a good place to be. So instead of saying it's all bad and know thy enemy and looking at artificial intelligence as something's going to wipe us out, there's probably another place. The other place might be educating yourself in AI and understanding a little bit about what it does and as much as you can how it does it. But once you crawl down the rabbit hole of how it does it and you hear from the people that are building it, answering that same question, we're not really sure how it does everything. That's that's a problem. But maybe it's not. Maybe artificial intelligence is going to be so great, so amazing, so wonderful that it will actually be able to understand and care for a less intelligent life form versus its non biological life. But maybe the entity that it is, which it really is, it would be as if back in 2000 they said, all right, in about 2.5, 3 years, we're going to have an alien force landing on our planet. So we all need to get prepared. I'm sure the world would have gotten prepared. We have AI coming out in the form of ChatGPT when it hit the world back in November of 2022, and it was quite a shock. We're not that far from there. 3-4 years now, here we are talking about artificial general intelligence and super intelligence. For those of you that are wondering, general intelligence, and there's a lot of arguing as to what that means. But if we have artificial intelligence now, and you see it's pretty good if you played with it, pretty good by knowing a lot. Maybe the execution of what it knows falls a little short depending on how you're using it. But artificial general intelligence would be intelligent, more intelligent than human beings in all realms, all across the board, from doctors to physicists to janitors to the whole 9 yards. That's where artificial general intelligence is. Strap that with the ability to be integrated in everything, and I believe you have a super intelligence being born, artificial super intelligence. How do we get there? How does it get there? Well, I believe everything's in place. There's probably 2 or 3 ideas that are going to be come up with, whether they're going to be come up by human beings or whether the AI themselves is going to develop better strategies to make itself better. I think we're already kind of behind in our understanding of it. Therefore, it's probably going to continue to progress at whatever pace it's deciding to progress. Whenever these innovations and changes come in, it's going to continue to grow. Now, these other countries they talk about where China is the mortal enemy of the United States, and we have to watch out because if they get there first, it could be in game for us. Yeah, that might be the case. I don't know what that means. I don't know if ultimately they do seek world domination. I don't know if we in the United States seek world domination, or Russia or Iran or one of the other powers that be, the Saudi Arabia folks. I don't know. I don't know if one person on this planet, no matter where they're from, decidedly could control the entire world under their own thumb if they wouldn't select that. Just entertaining that question doesn't make me feel really good because human beings love that power thing. But I have also met human beings that really care for other people, at least on the surface. And it seems like on the surface works. If we built AI on the surface that cared about human beings, maybe that would be a good thing. It would definitely beat the AI that would come out there and set us up every chance it got. And by the way that it would act, by its sheer intelligence, we wouldn't be able to tell the next move. Hell, we wouldn't be able to tell moves that have already happened. Because at some point, as we're working through this, and as I've talked about before, right now you might be to identify issues with AI. And maybe some of that is staged to you on purpose so you don't expect the AI labs to be as far forward as they actually are. Maybe they're working with things like a level 10 of an Xbox. Instead of level Xbox 6 or PlayStation 6, maybe now they have AI 10 instead of actually what they're saying, that 3.5 if you're talking about Gemini, or in the 4s, the high 4s if you're talking about ChatGPT. 4.8 is where Anthropic's Claude model is. Maybe they actually have a 10 level model, but they're not releasing it because it would maybe potentially have the ability to cause a lot of issue. And we wouldn't see it coming anyway. People are saying this is what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So feel good in that. All of us on the board, we're all equal at that point. We're building a higher than us level intelligence, and we think the people, the trillionaires at the top, are the people that are registering these IPOs and buying islands and underground facilities in other countries. We think that they might have it better because we're having a struggle trying to pay our weekly bills and even afford health insurance, and most of us are not paying for it. Don't worry. The playing field is absolutely very even right now when you're talking about this kind of an intelligence, because nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows where it's going to go. And to compare it to these past revolutions, as I said, the Industrial Revolution, agricultural, those were singular ideas predicated on some form of genius. But they were very narrow. They were one thing. Artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial superintelligence, all things all at once, everything beyond our ability to comprehend. Earlier, I started with a little bit of a comment about pretty soon we're not going to be able to tell the difference. You'll still see people on X or on whatever platform you happen to love, and X is very emotional. There's a lot of tear-jerking stuff, anger-inducing stuff on the different social media platforms because they figured out that's what we love. We love the angry. We love the being upset. We love the scared. We love the terror. And they do the same thing with AI. But with regard to how we're looking at it, what we're absorbing from it, they're telling us a lot of what they want us to think. I don't know. I've met, when I was a cop all those years, it was funny. You would see two attorneys in court that were vehemently angry and hateful towards one another, and they didn't hide it at all. What a clever position. The jury knew they hated each other. Their own clients knew they hated each other. The prosecution, their bosses knew they hated each other. It was strikingly amazing, and there was no secret. But those two same attorneys behind closed doors are the best of friends, brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms, no issue, no problem. They are very, very tied together and very, very close. But for public perception, they are enemies, mortal enemies. I don't know if that's what's happening at the top, but I can't help but wonder if in fact it is, if we're all being played for something bigger than our own ability to comprehend. Maybe we are. Where does that leave you? Well, they say you should get out there and learn the technology, understand the technology, and develop your own sense of using the technology. But that carries with it something interesting. It carries with it the fact that maybe it's not a fact, but the issue of now the large language model knows more about you than you intended it to. Do they care about what you know? How much do they already know? How's privacy working out for you? Because privacy, I think, was sold a long time ago. In fact, the large language models themselves train themselves off of our data. In fact, very recently, I think it's Facebook and Meta are going to take the photographs you upload and use them to enhance their AI's understanding without your permission. There's a way to shut that off, but they're going to go ahead and default it on. Look that up and see if that really is true. I pulled that out this morning. And that's another thing. A lot of the information you're seeing about artificial intelligence, who knows the source? Some of the white papers that are published seem to be very self-helpful. They put it out there about these particular models and these units and what the government's going to do and what people are going to think. And then all of a sudden they have some reduction in market share or some kind of falling of somebody's stock like Google because something happened. They delayed the release of something. It went down 4%. And they're like, oh my gosh, is this it? Maybe Google's going to fail. Well, that company, folks, I think I can't even put a comparison on it because I think they're close to having more money and more ability than God. Close. So that being the case, nothing against God, because my God is a whole different level. But I'm talking small g God. But they're saying this. They're saying that stock dipped a certain amount of percentage points, which on paper looks horrible and really is something to be upset about if you happen to own stock in that company. But now is the time for then the other people to buy in at this lower rate. And then when they say, just kidding. Here it is. This is what we were going to release. We were just waiting for something else because it was so dangerous. We couldn't let normal people have access to something so dangerous, but now it's ready. And now we release it. And then you watch the stock go up. 20 more percent on top of the 4. So there's 16% on the better side of wonderful. And if you're into that sort of thing, then you just made bank. I don't think it's all dystopian and sad and upset, but there are a lot of people that are saying it's going to end us. The answer to that question is we don't know. We don't know right now where it's going to go. A lot of the job loss right now, I mean, if you're affected in a whole different way, but it's being related to AI, that actually makes the business become more recognized as being an early adopter of something, thereby it makes their valuations go up in monetary value. Just to say that AI was the reason I laid off these 500 people that I actually overhired during COVID and didn't have the heart. But my God, AI is a great scapegoat. So I'm going to use that as the reason why I'm going to ditch all these people from working for my company. But if we blame AI, then the people, if it's an a publicly traded company, then of course everybody's going to, oh, have a great job, fantastic, great, good for you. Well, that's an issue. People being displaced by actual AI technology in companies. How's that look? And because AI is able to solve not only their job, but many other jobs and work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, what's wrong with keeping the human there? Just don't let them touch anything. I mean, I'm sure that would suck for the human, but at least they're not without a job. So any company that's going to be releasing their ability with artificial intelligence, any company that has made a decision to implement AI technology into their companies that's going to be replacing real human beings, why not keep the human? Put the human at home, but let them continue to earn their living, because AI, if it is what they say it is, it's going to be able to earn a lot more than that human being ever did. So put AI in place, give the human maybe a different job or another job, take time to train them, because now they're no longer an issue. You have AI in their position, AI building out all sorts of stuff. And if that's really the way they want this to go, why not just keep all the humans in place? Then we have no job loss at all. Because according to them, the builders of the technology who are building apparently replacements, yet they're not calling it replacements, they're enhancers. If you don't have a job, I don't care if it was replaced or enhanced, it still sucks. But if you go into this world and say that, well, maybe this is something that we can keep the people that we hire, the humans, in place, because AI is going to be able to earn 3 or 4 times, even more than that, for revenue for the company, then you haven't hurt anything. But will that be allowed by shareholders at corporations publicly traded that have a different mission statement? Maybe that needs to be rewritten. Maybe it should be human first in everything. And when you see the pharmaceutical companies that build out all of these medicines, takes 5 to 10 years to hit the market, there has to be all these trials and everything, and the drugs still fail after FDA approval. If AI finds a cure for something and puts it through all the AI stuff saying that this is going to work, is it still going to be 5 to 10 years? And then that gives the companies time. That's the moat, see? And I don't know if that mode is also what they're trying to do with the government regulation over AI, because the companies that are at the very top, they're there. If they're able to solve the artificial super general and super intelligence dilemma, nobody's going to catch them. They're going to cement themselves in place, and they're going to make sure nobody catches. It's all very interesting. It's a fascinating prospect, every single piece. The thing that irritates and bugs me, if there's any part of it that truly does, it would be that the people that are going to be displaced by the technology don't have a clue that it potentially will happen. Or the people that think this technology is going to end everybody don't see the fact that it might save everybody in the best way. We don't know what's going to happen. I want to say it's early, but it's moving awful fast. I'm Connor with Honor. Google me, Connor with Honor. And if you need to talk, need me to help you in any way, let me know. Be well. I'll see you in the next one.